Hi, I'm Kiley Hanish. I'm the founder of Return to Zero Hope, and I have here with me Dorienna Alfred. Dorienna, if you want to introduce yourself.
My name is Dorienna Alfred. I am a psychologist and I'm a certified perinatal mental health professional, and I work with parents who have experienced loss, and I am glad to be here.
And Dorienna is also one of our board members. And so we're here today to talk about the importance of providers' knowledge of perinatal loss when working with parents and families having children, and even after. So I know my experience when I lost Norbert was really, really bad. I I didn't get any guidance about what was going to happen, that I had to deliver him and what that process was going to look like and be like and how long it was going to take. And I didn't get any guidance of, well, when he was born, what are the things I could do to parent him and to make memories. Luckily, somebody told us to take pictures, but that's the only recommendation we got. And it's not a situation that you ever think you'd find yourself in. You're not going to plan for your baby to be stillborn. And I feel like the trauma of all of that, I was in shock already, and the trauma upon trauma of just not knowing what was going on, what to do, was really, really scary and had a really detrimental effect on my mental health going forward. So that's why I'm so passionate about at Return to Zero that we are providing training and information and support for providers, any type of provider who may come in contact with someone who's had a loss, so that they feel more confident and can better support these people. What was your experience like, Dorina, in your lost journey?
Sadly, pretty similar to yours. I think it's just one of those experiences that you cannot prepare for, even if, someone says in advance, like for some people experience loss, it's like, okay, this is something that's going to happen. I, like you, was told that I would have to deliver, and I emotionally just could not prepare myself for that. And yet it had to be done. What I will say is I had providers during that stage who were really helpful, really comforting, and, really helped me along with understanding and trying to prepare my mind and my body to do what had to be done. However, afterwards, and trying to understand, like, how did this happen? What do we do next? If we want to have children, like, what does that look like? Really came up against a lot of barriers, and at one point was even told, well, this happens. It's pretty common. And also, we usually wait until there's been, 2 or 3 losses before we start looking at genetic testing and those types of things. And I was just baffled and thought, I don't think so. That doesn't work. It doesn't make sense. Maybe medically, it has some merit, but from an emotional standpoint, it's almost like, oh, just after the next loss or after the next 2 losses. And it's like, what person wants to sit with that? And that was unacceptable. And I said as much. Just going through that whole process was really challenging. And one of the things that I noticed, and I don't know what kind of bearing it had, but, I was a woman of color by providers who were all white. And it was really hard. Like, are they listening? Is this just the status quo? Is this just how this works? So there were a lot of things that I had to, and my husband, we had to really try to navigate and manage, and the impact that it still has on our
Mm.
mental health is notable. And that was about 17 years ago. Still.
Yeah.
So that impact and the ability for providers to acknowledge the emotional part is so significant, important. And I am glad that RTZ makes that a priority, because it really is essential to those who have experienced loss being able to take the next step forward in their healing, but also in whatever their next expanding their family looks like. So very grateful for that.
Yeah. So we were talking a little bit before about just the importance of having providers trained. And so do you want to speak a little bit to that? Like, you are a provider also. I mean, you're unique. You're both a parent and a provider.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I think the training, whether it is healthcare providers or even mental health, those of us who are going to be naturally in that position to support, it is really essential and critical that we have appropriate training, because what we say or what we don't say, it matters. It's really important to a person's journey and their loss. And so being able to understand and being able to sit with and being able to provide education, and education that takes into account where someone is emotionally, providing resources, and not just here's a pamphlet, but really helping people understand, following up, checking in. It seems like a lot, and it is, and it can be, but the impact that it can have, not just on that parent who's experienced loss, but also even the next generation, which I think is really cool, because when parents who've experienced loss can heal, and we have that support from our providers, and we have the information and education that we need, we have the impact to shift our parenting. And that is so critically important. So that's, I think, what I would just add in terms of why it is so very important that providers receive education about loss.
Yeah. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me and
Yes,
sharing your
absolutely.
experience.
Absolutely happy to do it. Thank you for having me.